This is the Skalkaho Wayside, I call it, on Shoshone Loop. And it's interesting that when we were here 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks and a half ago, there was still ice, and actually quite a bit of ice. And now you can see the river is totally clear. And we've had some cold weather since then, but I think the overall balance of the weather, especially with longer days, shorter nights, has been enough to melt things. So it's clear here, and it'll be interesting to see how far up the Skalkaho it remains clear. And right now I'm just kind of stopping here because I was curious about this and to get some water, but I'm going to continue up the road. Rejoining Skalkaho right before milepost 4. So one thing about this warmer weather is it does make it harder to ride, even though it's, I don't know, probably 70 Fahrenheit, something like that. And so I had to dress in layers, and actually brought a sweatshirt, and I took it off. It's in my backpack but I do want that sweatshirt because up ahead it could still be very cold, and even here the temperature could drop quickly. But now I'm going to start riding, and I probably won't update for a while. So I've paused on the Gerd Point Road, turned in for a second to drink some water and rest. And this trip, I abbreviated that because I already showed that last time. And last video, 2 weeks ago, the Centennial Grove video, might have been overkill. So today I'm kind of skipping some places until I get to new territory. One thing to mention, I don't know if I mentioned this explicitly, the milepost marks on the Skalkaho Highway almost line up directly with coming from my house, because it's about 2 miles until I meet milepost 2. So right here we're between milepost 8 and 9, so I bicycled between 8 and 9 miles and have a few more miles to go this way after I eat some food. One other thing, which is usually the case on this route, first 2 or 3 miles I was not feeling it. My legs were really tired, and I was like, how am I going to do so much of this, especially when I get into the serious climb? But now that I'm in the middle of a place where I have tranquility, also means I can tack easily. I just kind of got in the zone and kept going, and it is effort, but it feels like good effort. And hopefully that will continue to be the case. I'm about a mile away from milepost 10, which is when I get into having good shade and getting into the National Forest seriously. There we are, milepost 10, entering the real National Forest. And I just checked my phone. It's 2:30 p.m. and I left the house a little bit after 12:30. So again, I'm kind of wondering about my bicycling, because that's like 5 miles per hour. Of course, I did take the 2 breaks and I've stopped to film a little bit, but this is going a little bit slower than it should, even though I'm going uphill. But it's not a race. This is just my Friday afternoon. So let's see what's in this direction. Well, there's some ice right there. And actually I did see some a little bit before that way, or thought I did. It was harder to see though. But here, that is ice. And it's still really hot out, but we're reaching the place where the remnant ice is still there. And we're probably about a mile before Centennial Grove, and let's see what it looks like there. So right now I'm pretty close to Centennial Grove. And here, even though the road is going up, I'm kind of like in my pace, and I'm just moving up slowly but steadily here. And it's also a nice ride and pretty free of traffic. And if there was traffic, ironically enough, I have more of a shoulder here than I did lower down. So I'm just going to keep going, and next rest stop is in a couple hundred feet. So I just put my bike there, put my bag there. I'm going to walk in this direction. I'm going to see the Skalkaho Creek. And the question is, how much snow there will be? 2 weeks ago, actually, 2 Fridays ago, I said this might all be gone, and I thought it was exaggerated, but things really have cleared up. Although here, we still have a lot of, it's solid here, but ice and snow is solid here. But 2 weeks ago, it covered the creek. So one thing to consider here is not just the change in season, but actually the trigonometry of it. Look at where the sun is right there, and look at where this ridge line is. and how deep this shadow is in winter, when the, might be months the sun literally does not shine here. So when people say stick it where the sun don't shine, this is Centennial Grove on Skalkaho Creek. That's what they're talking about, indubitably. And that's also really different for me because, in Costa Rica where I was, the temperature changes with the weather, but the sun is always at the same angle, and the air is hotter than the sun. And here, the sun is hotter than the air, if that makes any sense. Your incoming radiation changes things a lot. Of course, also it's the day-to-day. 2 days from now, there could be like 2 or 3 inches of snow here. We just don't know. But there's the creek, and I'm going to turn around and keep going another mile or 2 to my next goal. But as always, it's pleasant to be here. Nice little place to stop. So this is what I'm eating here, by the way. I did not just bring Arizona green teas, but I did get some on sale, so I brought several of those. And a Snickers bar is really good when you're putting a lot of effort in. So we're going to eat quickly and then continue out on the road. Now I'm going to continue this way. And I've been up this road many times, but that was like 2014 or 2015 was the last time I was here. 2 weeks ago I got this far, and let's see what's in this direction. And just a little ways up, this is the first ice that's not in water that I've seen, and it looks pretty meager and downtrodden now, but that was a big proud snowbank 10 feet tall on the 1st of March, I'm sure. And continuing on past milepost 12, really only have another mile to go, but let's see. Right there through the trees, I'm not showing it all the way, but that's the last house on this road, the last inhabited structure. A little bit past milepost 12. I don't know how that works because we're in the National Forest, but it might have pre-existed or something like that. Anyway, so from here, I believe it would be another 13 miles to the top of the pass, about, and then past then it's another, 10 miles. So really is a long way without any inhabited structures. There might be like emergency caches or utility buildings, but in general, we're out here in the woods. So right now, this is another stretch of road that I'm just making slow and steady progress on. Pretty pleasant. As you can see, it's quiet. And I don't know if it comes across in the video how steep this is. Not terribly steep, enough that I'm putting effort in, but my legs aren't burning. But it's also kind of hard to tell that because psychologically, maybe it's just because I feel better here. So maybe it's harder than it seems to me right now. And it will get a little bit harder after we pass next intersection, which will be the next thing we'll talk about. I was wrong when I said the next intersection. I was looking at this sign thinking this was the next road. This is somewhat related. This is the Black Bear Campground. I haven't actually been in, but it's like a Forest Service campground, so it's pretty minimalistic. But pretty close, there's another road and more campgrounds right where the bottom of that hill is, I believe. So I'm going to keep going and hopefully be correct this time. So I've just pulled off to the side here. And this, I believe, is Skalkaho-Rye Road. There's not a sign. Maybe there is a sign. Yes, there's some type of sign here. And this road goes eventually to Rye Creek, which is about in linear miles, 15 or 20 miles south of Hamilton on Highway 93. But as we can see from this sign, Highway 93, 46 miles. So this road goes a lot of places, many of them very beautiful. And I've been pretty far up this road. I mean, I've been fairly far up it, but nowhere near doing that connection. 46 miles on this road would be very difficult for almost any rider in the world. There's also a variety of camping spots here, but this is a national forest, which means a camping spot is this. I mean, that is it. Earlier in the Black Bear Campground, I did see they had an outhouse, and that's pretty luxurious for National Forest camping spot. So that's really different from, oh, there you can see a camper there. That's really different from like when I went to Glacier, and you know, there's entire like setups and people have their RVs there, and there's, you know, and there's a reason for that. But wanted to point out that National Forest camping is a good option, but it is a little bit different, but better for many uses. Anyways, I'm going to get back on my bicycle and continue up the road to our end point today. And here I'm crossing the creek, and I would like to say this is Skalkaho Creek, but technically this is not. Just ahead here, this creek meets another creek which goes up this canyon or up this valley or whatever you want to call this. And for whatever reason, that creek that turns at a right angle is called Skalkaho Creek on the maps I've seen. And this creek, which follows the Skalkaho Highway to Skalkaho Falls by Skalkaho Mountain to Skalkaho Pass, is called Daly Creek. In my mind, this is still Skalkaho Creek, but if you want to be technical, this is Daly Creek, named after Marcus Daly, I assume. But it is, for all intents and purposes, that is Skalkaho Creek that we're going to continue to follow up this way. So I'm still by the creek, Daly Creek, if they insist. I have put some elevation over it, so I'm climbing. The creek is climbing, but I'm climbing even more. And ahead we can see some signs. Let's go see what's going on with those signs. So this sign lets us know narrow, mountainous, winding gravel road next 25 miles. Actually right here it's still paved, and it will actually remain paved for a while, but it does become gravel. It also, the median strip will go away and it'll become like a 1-lane or narrow 2-lane road. And related to that, not relevant to me, trailer towing units over 20 feet not advised next 25 miles. Yeah, the road does get difficult. And then finally, if I can see that far, Skalkaho Falls is 6 miles, and the junction with Montana 1 is 40 miles. And we are not going to the falls today. Only 6 miles, is it? Huh. I'll have to think about that. One thing in my memory, some of these things are closer together. So I remembered the turn off to Skalkaho-Rye Road and these signs and the first gate, spoilers, as being basically within a couple hundred feet with each other. But they are a little bit more widely spaced. And I thought that the first gate would be here, but I guess it's right past that bend. Gonna go find that. So right here, we're at the first gate. It says road closed. And actually when I saw those signs, I didn't see the gate, and I thought that the gate was open, but I just had to go further. And the gate is closed. As you can see, it's free of snow, so on my bicycle I could probably go a ways further, maybe quite a ways further before I started hitting snow and ice. The reason it's closed is that it's not really maintained. They can't maintain it. So people would try to go up here with like some big truck or trailer or something, and probably cause the road to slump and them to fall into the creek. So for safety's case, the first gate here is closed usually until sometimes in April, sometimes the end of April. And the second gate, I've heard like Memorial Day. Montana resident trail pass required on groomed trails. Well, I wouldn't be on the trails, I'd be on the road. I'll have to think about, do I need that pass though? And so also you can see here the road narrowed. You can get 2 cars by here, but it's a little bit more difficult. It's a beautiful road, and it's about 3 miles to the second gate. And from here, even though we have been climbing, it starts to really climb. And honestly, this second part, usually when I'm on a bicycle, I do like a half or a third of it, and the rest I just walk my bicycle. A lot easier going down. And also it's not maybe super apparent, but you can also see the creek, Daly Creek in quotation marks, has a lot more ice and snow. So ahead that will be even more true. I don't know how far up you'd have to go to see it iced over at this time of year. Anyway, this was my goal for today, and I could go a little bit further, but no reason to push it. I don't want to get dehydrated or too tired. This is still kind of new to me. And one of the things, ironically, is that like to here, I think that's like 2 miles past. No, yeah, because it's 11.5 is Centennial Grove, and then this is like close to 14. So I really didn't go that much further, but it did feel a little bit more of an adventure today. Also, if you've ever read Sabriel, that is pretty indicative of what the first and second gates are like crossing them. You really does feel like you're entering kind of a different zone or phase. Partly because they mark, you know, differences in ecosystems and topography, and also because they're not groomed as much for road use. Like, it starts feeling a lot more natural. I mean, not that this doesn't feel natural, but a lot more. That's just, if you get the reference, might be interesting. Then one final note before I turn around and go home. You can see, well, there's a lot of evergreen trees. These might be getting out of ponderosas. These might be different types of evergreen trees. But you can see the deciduous trees are still dormant. And right where we are here, I believe this is like 4,500 or 4,600 feet. So I've come up a good 1,000 feet from where I started. And because of that, you know, spring is barely starting down on the valley floor. And here, it's going to be a while. Still a lot of snow and ice, so we're still in winter. But that's kind of a contradiction for me because it actually was pretty hot coming up here, especially with that exercise. So I'm sweating, you know, it feels like a hot day. Feel all the heat radiating from the sun off the pavement, and then I turn and I look and I see snow and winter dormancy. Okay, well, I'm gonna get on my bicycle. Woo, it's like I'm back in Costa Rica. There is actually a lot of butterflies here. I'm gonna get on my bicycle, and from here, like I said, I climbed up 1,000 feet. So going back down, I will not even have to pedal. I'm just gonna like get on my bicycle and just enjoy the fruits of my hard work, which is just going downhill. Well, here I am going downhill. And I did actually see a motorcyclist. The only cyclist I've ever seen today, and I have no idea why. Later in the season and stuff, it might be more common to see cyclists. But today I was the only one, and this is a beautiful road to cycle. It's safe, it's a challenge, but not terrible. So, you know, the entire Bitterroot Valley, I hope more cyclists come here and get to see all this beautiful nature. Okay, so I'm going to do the smart thing and put my camera down. I'm squeezing my brakes, but I'm going to put my camera down and then I'm going to really ride down the hill. So here we are, milepost 8. Been pretty easy way down. One or two places where the road dips and goes up. And so on the way down there are a few places I have to pedal, but generally it's been very easy and pleasant just to go downhill. Still have 8 more miles to home, but they should all be easy. I believe those are willows that are budding out, so they have that nice yellow color, and soon that will be a nice mellow willow green. And I'm on Fish Hatchery Road, which goes straight for almost a mile. Then it turns and runs to the perpendicular. And so this is the road to go home on. And also here, it's like my tension is gone, because even if my bicycle did break, I have a nice calm road to walk on. It's basically in my neighborhood. It'll still take a half hour probably to walk home, but I'm basically home. Okay, and I'll have one more concluding thought. But actually one of the things I was worried about, and caution if you are in Montana at this time of year, is there are deer ticks, and they can transmit diseases, including Rocky Mountain spotted fever. So when I go home, I'm going to take a shower and make sure there's none on my clothing. Actually, I was planning this trip for last Friday, and last Friday's trip to Roaring Line I thought I was going to do on Wednesday. And have in my mind have a very compact, exciting schedule. But then things happen, and I go and see other places, and it kind of spreads out. But hopefully I will be going further up the Skalkaho Highway and making videos about it, and hopefully it's not repetitive. To me, it's all as interesting because there's so much change as the spring goes, and even year to year the creek will shift and stuff like that. So it's really interesting to me, and hopefully it will be to other people. And like I've said, consider this as an outdoor and bicycling destination. And that's the news for today.